Welcome to the July 15th, 2024 Kubernetes Contributor Summit Planning for Salt Lake City. We are part of the Kubernetes CNCF community and follow the CNCF Code of Conduct. Basically, be nice. Everything is in the agenda doc. If you have anything else to add for notes or anything like that, I put that in the chat. And with that, we can kick things off. Also, that agenda doc, feel free to add yourself to the attendees if you would like. If you'd rather not, that's okay. First thing on our agenda, lead updates. Mario is out today, not feeling well, but looks like he was able to arrange some things to have a Q&A session like we had in Paris. So for those that weren't able to attend there, just great to have some CNCF folks up on stage, have the opportunity for attendees to ask questions and folks to go into details on different things. So it's kind of nice having that. Looks like we'll be able to do that again. So great to see that Mario was able to arrange that. He also noted in the agenda doc that he's preparing a planning doc for the content of those sessions. That is all for lead updates. Let's see, do not have any CNCF updates, it looks like. So we can move on to ops. And Josh.
Yeah, it's still the slow period for us, so we're working on the volunteer handbook. We've divided things up between the shadows, where Ray is going to be responsible for the room volunteers, and Carlos, if he makes it to, in planning he'll be responsible. If he makes it to the KCS, will be responsible for the hallway volunteers. And that's it.
All right, thanks, Josh. Next, content, Nitish.
Sure, I can go ahead. So regarding the content team, we are actually again going slow a little bit here, but we have received 3 CFPs so far. Apart from that, we are planning to set up a meet with Mario and few other folks in order to know more about the venue structure, because we know that when the September month is about to come, we are going to get CFPs in, not in bulk, I would say, but we're going to get 10 more CFPs. So eventually want ourselves to be properly aligned with the venue structure beforehand. And that is one of the reasons the content team will be getting in sync with Mario and other members as well, in order to know more about the venue structures, how many talks we need to actually arrange for the summit. Third thing I want to present in this summit is about the summit staff CFP idea. So, so I actually went through a bunch of CFPs that have made to Kubernetes Contributor Summit, which is entirely visible on the Kubernetes community site, right? And most of these CFPs cover wide range of topics that are eventually necessary for the K8s community. And there has been one specific blog as well that eventually talks about what are the things that goes behind planning a summit. But there has nothing been any talk so far that actually tells you about what it actually what are the things that goes behind behind arranging the summit. This was the first thing that I figured it out. Second thing, I personally find that a lot of part of our document is actually outdated, and generally shadows, I would say shadows or the volunteers get a little bit, it becomes a little bit hard for them to cope up with what are their responsibilities after a certain point of time. So having a panel discussion or having a separate session in the summit where the lead of each team is actually going to present what are their own set of responsibilities in the summit staff. Obviously, there will be the summit staff lead, and then there will be the team leads as well. I actually discussed this idea with other folks as well. And I think one of the important questions that we got to know was the summit staff team will be actually be busy that day. So what we were planning for, that we can either arrange this talk at the very last of the summit, along with an interactive feedback session. So as soon as this talk gets over, everyone can put their feedback maybe inside a feedback box or something else like that. That is one of the things we were also planning to do that. But how I feel that this talk is also going to get important is that in the future, when we are planning for the next summit and a part of our document is actually outdated, anyone, whether it's lead, shadow, or volunteer, can always refer to this talk that will be available on the YouTube. So this is generally one of the ideas that I personally think that there has nothing been this like this talk ever in the summit stuff. And I think having such talk is going to help us in the future summits as well. So I am open to suggestions from the summit staff team here. And I have shared this doc as well. If you see in the link, I have shared the doc link as well. So this is around a general idea, but we are open for suggestion and we can figure out how we can set this talk in the summit.
I will say I like the idea. I've done past community events where there's been like a feedback session at the end of the event. The better thing with those is I think that you were usually multi-day, at least a 2-day event, so there's a little easier to get some time. But I like the idea of trying to at least have something there. Might be a good way to promote getting involved as well.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah. One thing more that I want to mention is that since if it is going to be panel discussion, which I think it is going to be more around an interactive session. And one thing that I also want to specifically mention that we understand that sometimes a specific lead cannot be present for this talk. So we'll make sure that the summit staff lead is going to present their set of responsibilities for the particular summit staff event. Second thing, if a certain team lead is unable to make it to conference, what we can do is we can either have a maybe 2 to 3 minutes recording, which we can put them in the slides if they're unable to make it to the conference. If it is going to be a panel discussion, we are aware of the fact that only 5 people can eventually we can eventually put 5 people name into it, but there can be more than 5 people on the stage at any point of time. So, and I think if we think about it, this talk can fit very well into our summit and it will be impactful for our future summit events. Also, yeah, just want to mention that I have shared the docs. So if anyone of you have any suggestions, please let me know, either in the docs or by any ways, so that we can start working on drafting the CFP, or we can eventually figure it out how are we going to present this talk. I mean, how is this going to fit in a summit? Do we want it to be a panel discussion, or do we actually want it to be a general feedback session, something like that?
I chatted with Nitish a bit about this on Slack, and I think it's a good idea one way or the other. We just have to decide what format and when in the summit and things like that work best for us and what exactly we want to get out of it. I like the idea of a feedback session toward the end of the event. That might be a good way to frame it. We can edit Nitish's doc with our ideas.
True that. I also was thinking if there's something called as feedback box that we eventually can perform in this part of talk. If we get a feedback at that very moment itself, that is going to help us creating the retro docs for the next summit. It's eventually going to help us creating a better retro docs for the next summit on what things we need to eventually improve for a next summit.
A feedback box on site that people could like drop notes into is an interesting idea as well.
Yeah.
I'd swear we did that at some summit previously. and I
I
just
believe
can't
it.
remember which one it was and what the outcome was. I mean, obviously they didn't think much of it at the time, or we would have done it again.
Hmm.
But
Could be worth trying again.
the I mean, certainly not very expensive to do, even if nobody uses it.
Also kind of depends on comms in a sense, right? Directing people's attention to it. So might be worth a shot.
I remember us doing that as well. Would it also be better, maybe like a digital feedback form, like a QR code posted in few places and signposts for folks to leave feedback instead of a physical box?
I wonder which one folks are more likely to actually do. If you have to go on your phone and do it, are you more likely to do it? Or if you like take a piece of paper and write it down right there, are you more likely to do it? I don't know.
I personally think that folks, again, personal choice. If I were there, I would prefer writing it down if, because it's eventually been present in front of me rather than scanning the form and then, writing down the things. But again, it's a personal choice.
Yeah, I just find that for me, I would do QR code. I also think that folks don't carry pens anymore. I always have to be mindful to carry a pen whenever I go to conferences, but like usually I don't. But
I
unless
mean, I
we,
assume we would provide pens.
yeah, I'm assuming we would provide them in cards as well. But like, yeah, yeah.
Just to throw it out there, the other thing I've seen work well is to have a shared doc that people can we could kind of get some categories in there just to get things started, and then where I've seen it work really well is people start to leave some feedback, and then that triggers ideas from other people, and then they add a little bit to maybe sub bullets where they can expand on something or point out a different viewpoint. So maybe a combination. We could have a Dropbox to make it real easy for someone to just drop something in, and we could also have something that a little more interactive.
Makes sense. Got it.
Plenty of time to think about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll get the majority of our feedback in person, right? If we have a Q&A session, that's how we'll get most of it. The but we might capture some other way as well. More of it, like I actually suggested the Q&A to Sriram because we've kind of had this formula for how the KCS runs for like 3-4 KCSs now. And I'd like to get feedback from the contributors in general because we don't want to keep organizing KCS this way because it's how we've always done it. If it turns out that it's not meeting people's needs.
Right. Any other feedback, or we can move on? Okay. Thanks, Nitish. Next up, communications. Sandeep?
Kathleen, would you want me to give or you would give? I go ahead. Okay. Thank you. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm here to give updates on communications on behalf of Kathleen. So I'll divide it into three categories. The first one will be the communications that are already sent. So in that, we have the call for design, logo and award, which have already been sent, and we have implemented a new form-based system for collecting submissions, and also we will be accepting submissions from non-org members. The second thing that has been sent is the contributor award reminder, which was sent on July 10th. Then the next we have is the category of in progress. So the first one there is the lead only award nomination reminder. So that will be sent around July 17th, and it is ready for review to be sent in just 2 days. So please help with reviews if you can. The next in progress item is the CFP and the registration reminder for July that will be sent on Monday, July 22nd. It is being prepared and will be ready for review later this week. The third item in progress is the update to the KCS Comms Team Handbook. So Kathleen made like a lot of changes and then she got some excellent reviews from multiple folks, and so she's working to implement all those changes. There have been some very detailed reviews, and so she's working on taking each review at a time and incorporating it. Now, the last category is what is planned for the future communications. So that is the first one is the lead only award nomination reminder that will be sent around July 24th, next Wednesday. The second one is the lead only award nomination reminder, which will be sent one day before the due date around July 30th, because the due date is July 31st. And then we have about 4 design reminders in the month of August, one CFP reminder in August, and finally 3 CFP reminders in September. So that's all. And whichever part of the world you are in, the comms team will make sure that the reminder reaches your inbox. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So next up, social. Want to say hi, Drew?
Yeah, hello, my name is Drew Hagan, and I will be helping out Xander with the social. So yeah, it's nice to meet everybody.
Thanks for helping out with that.
Yeah, I don't have an update quite yet, but yeah, I'm excited to be working with y'all.
Okay. Awesome. Welcome. Next up, registration updates. Savita?
Hey everyone. So before I dive into the updates, I just want to give a quick shout out to all the shadows. They have had my back in the past 2 weeks, and they are there for. They are amazing. So thank you. We only had 2 requests come in, and we have updated the sheet. Thank you, Xander. Um, we are waiting on the CNCF to send out the appropriate notices. I have pinged Janelle. So that's where we are at. Any questions?
Yeah, it really looks like people are not going to be paying attention to the KCS at all until,
Yeah. So I was
I don't know,
looking at
next month at the earliest.
I was looking at the previous registration, the dates and when did the registration actually come in. So like probably closer to 8 weeks. That's when we see a lot of influx. So like I think we are over 15 weeks now. Maybe I need to look at the sheet again.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming in like 2-3 weeks we will just see more folks. And I also think it collides with the CFP notices. Once folks know that they are going for sure to KubeCon, because we anyways need their email for the main registration. It's been a slow registration week, but it's good.
Yeah, still early. Okay, then let's go on to Goslin, Kate's meet and greet.
I keep forgetting about that one. Hello, and welcome to Meet and Greet with Caslin. We mentioned for the last couple of weeks that we still need to check in with George about how the shape of the project pavilion is shaping up. Bob was here last week and also mentioned that he is aware of our desire to use the project pavilion space. He's confident that we'll be able to use it in some way, shape, or form, but we still need to work out the details of what that looks like, and that's where we still are.
Yeah, thanks, Goslin. Mars, any updates on awards?
Yes, we've got 2 more responses. So our total is 3. So we have 3 SIGs who responded. So we will probably start bugging SIG leads this week to remind them that, hey, please, we will reach out individually to every SIG lead. Maybe, I'm not sure. We will see how that goes. Hopefully it will improve our numbers. Apart from that, everything looks good.
Thanks. Next topic, Swag. I don't have any updates. I'm not sure if Mario does yet at this point either. It's sounding like beanies, hats are the main idea so far. Let's see. I think he was tracking down some options there, so we'll see next time. Sorry, Nitish, I saw you had your hand up. Did you have something to add?
I can put this question at the last, so no worries.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty much it for Swag. So now anything else? So yeah, go ahead.
All right. I was thinking that the last time we created the unconference issue, it was basically, I think, around 1 month prior to the conference. And I just want to get some thoughts of what if we try to create the unconference issue uh, pretty early so that folks eventually can get to know more about it first thing. And what does the com team actually think of sending a reminder about it, like the way they have been sending reminders about CFPs once a month or twice a month? So I'm also want to know about this thing as well.
If it's a thing and you want eyes on it, we're happy to do comms on it. The question is, do we want to go ahead and create it early? Which I see no reason why not to, but other people's opinions.
Yeah, I'm actually looking for other people's opinion. I would prefer keep creating it early, as compared to, the later on time.
Yeah. I mean, we can create at any time. Nobody's going to do anything there until we close the general CFP.
True that.
Because that's generally when people are like, oh, I forgot to submit this. But there's
Makes
no harm
sense.
in creating the issue even like now, and having already open. So if you want to do that.
I forget the wording
That's
that
a
we have on that issue, but maybe just make it really clear in the unconference issue what the difference would be if someone was specifically wanting to do their session as an unconference versus submitting a CFP. 'Cause I think the format might be better suited for some types of things.
I think we can take inspiration from the last time the issue was created, but again, the certain modifications can be done based on that. So I'll share the issue format, I think, in the Summit staff group. And before creating the issue, if anyone wants to have certain feedback or change something, we can proceed with that.
I like the idea of promoting it right after the CFP ends. Good point that people will probably submit to it because they're like, oh, and I missed that. So if we go ahead and have the issue ready to go, we can promote that right after that closes. And if we have the clarity on how an unconference session differs from something that you would submit to the CFP, we can start promoting it before the CFP closes, but we can do a big push right after the CFP closes.
Anything more on that or any other open items to talk about?
A question from me, if you don't mind. Should we try asking people from our companies or, from the bigger companies to actually remind the contributors that or people that are coming to on that there is also Contributor Summit. You know, some are usually in a rush to submit their CFPs, but always forget that there is one day before with some interesting stuff. So before buying the tickets for their planes, maybe, you know, think about coming to Contributor Summit too.
That's a good point. I'm thinking that we could put a note about that in some of the upcoming CFP and Reg reminders. Say, hey, if there are other contributors at your company, make sure that you're letting other folks know about the Kubernetes Contributor Summit. We can add a note about that. Thank you. Good idea.
Thanks.
Anything else? Going once, going twice. All right. Well, if that's it, you know, feel free to bring up anything else in the staff Slack channel in the meantime. But I think that's it for today. Thanks everyone for attending. Things are looking pretty good. So we will see you all at least 1 week from today.
Bye. Bye. Bye,
Bye,
friend.